This is Ofori, host and producer of your favorite human interest chat show, The African Dream. Today we're here in the United States with Mr. E-B Asare-Asiedu, and he's a diplomat and he's originally from Ghana. Welcome to The African Dream, Mr. Asare-Asiedu.
Thank you very much, Ora.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting us to your humble abode.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you.
Appreciate it. Now, you have been a plenipotentiary working for the government of Ghana in the United States for a while. Tell us a little bit about that one.
It's been a long walk.
Right.
From my very beginnings as a foreign service officer thus far. It's seen us through many moments, ups and downs. It's seen us through serving the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, having some basic training in Germany and in Cairo, serving in the Embassy of Ghana in Cairo for 4 years, and then returning to Accra, working in the ministry, and then being posted again to Sierra Leone for 4 years, and after that returning to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, taking responsibility as Deputy Director and later Acting Director. Then again went back to school, and right from school posted to Sierra Leone for 4 years, where I was the Deputy High Commissioner. And then from there back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs until a posting took me also to Havana in Cuba for 4 years. After that, I returned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as Director, First Director of Estates, Director of Administration for a brief period, and then Director for Multilateral Relations, from which position I was posted to the Embassy of Ghana in Washington, D.C.
Now, when did you take your position up at the Embassy of Ghana in Washington, D.C.?
Exactly 2 years ago, November 15, 2015, I took responsibility as the head of Chancery of the Embassy of Ghana in Washington, D.C.
You've had quite a long stint with the Foreign Affairs of Ghana. May I ask, how long have you been working for the Foreign Affairs?
I have been working for the ministry for the last 25 years.
Interesting. How did you get in?
Well, it's by strict selection and through an interview process. You have to go through a very long interview that lasts about 3 hours, and with several distinguished members as panel, members of government as panel, who will have to do the interview. And when you pass and pass well, then, because then in our time, entry into the foreign ministry was very, very restrictive. Right. Very, very restrictive. So they wanted the very best, and therefore if you qualified to be in that group, and in our group we were only 5, so that is what it meant.
Of course, you're representing an entire country in a foreign country, so it's understandable that they will pick the best of the best. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's have you tell us. You've been in the U.S. for almost around 2 years. You've had interaction with Ghanaians in the United States and all that. Looking at the time you spent as a representative of the Ghanaian government in the U.S., tell us what your take is as far as U.S. and Ghana relationships are concerned.
U.S. and Ghana relationship has been a long-lasting and enduring friendship, a relationship that seeks to advance the interests of the two countries, as the United States' interest and the interest of Ghana. Diplomatic relationship is a relationship of symbiosis. It is a give and take type of relationship. It is not a one-sided kind of relationship. So right from independence, Ghana was recognized by the United States and diplomatic relations were established with the United States. friendship has grown from strength to strength. And Ghana was the first country to receive the United States Peace Corps volunteers in the 60s. And from then, several young people from the United States were deployed to Ghana, and they taught in many, many secondary schools, including the secondary school that I would later in life attend. We had KJB Secondary School, which had a good number of Peace Corps volunteers, in the school. So Ghana, United States relationship as of today, so many things are happening. We have the Millennium Challenge account that is supposed to work on the power and energy sector of the Republic of Ghana. That is a relationship that is supposed to improve and increase power penetration in our country, improve efficiency of distribution and collection of tolls, for that matter, and make the institution of the Electricity Company of Ghana more productive, and to be able to serve the people, because electricity or power means development.
Right.
And with Ghana's high level of penetration, if we can have reliable power, it means that we can have reliable expansion of businesses. And when we have reliable expansion of businesses, automatically we're going to create more businesses and therefore more employment for our people in all the sectors, because once you are productive as a nation, then of course your capacity to employ more people would be there. Right. So these are the kinds of relationships. There are technical relations that we have even between the Ghana Armed Forces and the United States Armed Forces. A lot of our officers are trained here. We have the defense session that collaborates so much with the United States defense. We have educational programs. A lot of Ghanaians are schooling in this country. Right. A lot of Ghanaians as well working here, gaining new knowledge, making some earnings, right, some of which are sent home and through remittances. And you have no doubt that remittances now constitute a huge chunk of our foreign currency earnings in our country. And all of these are the elements of cooperation that we have, and we are proud about the relationship between Ghana and the United States.
Thanks for sharing. Now, Mr. Asare-Asiedu, I hear you have a new appointment which is going to take you to Liberia. Congratulations on that appointment. And
thank you very much. All right.
Tell us a little bit about how that came about, and also what your new role is going to present to you as far as challenges and opportunities are concerned.
Well, I have indicated that I have been in the service of the Ghana Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a minimum of 25 years, totally serving Ghana government for a period of about 30 years. And in terms of career, we have come the full length of career progression, where catching the eye of the president and to be appointed an ambassador helps one to achieve his ultimate dream. Because as a foreign service officer, what everybody would want to aspire to is to become an ambassador one day, because that is the ultimate, the pinnacle of a career. And so to have gotten there, thank God, one feels fulfilled. But then it comes with a responsibility.
Right.
It comes with a challenge. It means to whom much is given, much is required from this individual. So very conscious of that, at every point in time, I take a pause and try to see, what can I offer my nation? Because my nation has given me everything that I have everything that I am. Therefore, I have a responsibility to pay back to my country by hard work, by humility, by listening, by building friendships, picking knowledge from the people, and being able to distill this knowledge into fruitful outcomes that can benefit my country and those whose sweat and toil pays me my salary. So, to Liberia. Liberia is a virgin area.
In what sense?
Liberia is virgin, pristine, in everything that you can think of. Forest and forest resources, minerals and mineral resources, the beaches. Liberia is a country that is begging for investment. Investment that can be very profitable. And for me, as a Ghanaian diplomat and the ambassador of Ghana, my focus is going to be where and how could we get Ghanaian businesses to come into Liberia and help open up that country, help develop that country. Because if we are able to do that, Liberia is our neighbor. Liberia is our friend. Liberia is a brother and Liberia is a sister. When Liberia was in trouble, when Liberia was in crisis, Ghana did not look on. Ghana did not sit by. Ghana rose up to the challenge with other West African countries in ECOMOG and ensured that peace and stability was returned to Liberia at the expense of the lives of our soldiers. Therefore, when peace is finally restored, Ghanaians and Ghana has a responsibility also to go in and help advance the democracy that Liberia has decided to choose, to advance development so that democracy could be anchored and Liberia's peace will remain on a firm anchor, never to slip by into the anarchy that we saw before.
That's interesting the way you put it. Liberia has, like you said, been prior to the beginning of its democratic process, gone through very difficult, circumstances which have led to years and years of civil war. Thankfully, they've had a democratic process that ushered in one of Africa's first female presidents in the person of Ellen Sirleaf Johnson. And even more amazing thing is that she's transferring power to a former soccer star in the person of George Weah, who's to become the president. He's going to be the president of Liberia, which is pretty historic, for a soccer star to vie for the highest office of his nation. Tell us, what do you feel about George Weah and him becoming president of Liberia?
The people of Liberia have spoken. And once a people speak, the rest of the world must listen and must help them to move forward. They have spoken. They have made a choice in a democratically contested election. An election that is declared free, fair, and credible by international observers. An election that I also observed. Now, once the people of Liberia have spoken and they have made a choice, the rest of us accept the choice and the decision of the Liberian people. Mr. Weah is a football star. It takes talent and the gift of God for somebody to come that far in the profession of soccer. He's captained his teams. He takes on-the-spot decisions. Mr. Weah is going to be a president. And like any other president, will have all the talent available in Liberia at his disposal. And all the talents in Liberia will have to be reflected in the personality of Mr. George Weah.
That's a lot of expectation and responsibility.
Exactly. And once all the people, all the talents, intellectual and whatever, are all going to be represented in the personality of Mr. George Weah, we expect that every Liberian will do everything possible to help make the government of Mr. Weah successful. Because by that, Liberia is going to be successful as well.
Let's have you tell us a little bit about Ghana-Liberia relationship and what has brought it to this point.
Ghana and Liberia have had a very long relationship that precedes the independence of Ghana. Remember, Liberia is the first independent nation on the continent of Africa, founded because of the desire for liberty that freed slaves from the United States were settled in Liberia. So, a lot of Liberian seafarers were in Ghana in the Gold Coast at the time. They were the people who introduced Pidgin English into the Gold Coast. That will later become Ghana, our motherland. That aside, there has been a lot of movement of Ghanaian fishermen from the coastal areas of the country into Liberia. And there are many places in Liberia where our Ghanaian languages are spoken. Government-wise, there has been a lot of relationship between Ghana and Liberia, dating to the early days of the independence of Ghana, when Dr. Nkrumah had to call for a conference of all independent African states in 1958. Liberia's President Tubman was there. That was also to be the foundation of the formation of the Organization of African Unity.
Right.
President Nkrumah and President Tubman were both founders of the Continental Organization that will later become the African Union. That aside, Ghanaians have sojourned in Liberia, just as Liberians have also traveled and settled in Ghana. Then the relationship became more close, more intense during the war. Because between Ghana and Nigeria, they could not have sat by to see their own kith and kin in Liberia being killed, allowing the country to be decimated by civil war. And this will lead to the formation of the ECOMOG, which I talked about earlier. And that troops from Ghana and Nigeria, basically, who were the core of ECOMOG, will have to go in and to establish themselves and later be able to bring peace. Remember, as soon as ECOMOG was able to settle, get a foothold in Liberia, the peace talks began.
Right.
Ghana had been in the lead under President Rawlings. The discussions started in Akosombo, in Accra, later in Abuja. President Kufuor also continued. And the final agreement that led Liberia to its peaceful status today was signed in Accra. So Ghana has been in the center and has been a bulwark in the search for peace for Liberia. This tells you what the relationship has been. And when even Liberia had become stable and they were in need of power, experts from Ghana will be sent to go and assist. So Ghana is ever ready And the president of Ghana has said it time and again that Ghana will continue to stand by Liberia to make sure that Liberia gains its rightful place as a democracy, as a beacon of development, and as a shining star of a country that has transitioned from war into peace and to development.
You spoke of the fact that the peace treaty that eventually ended the civil war in Liberia was signed in Accra, Ghana. The Ghanaian president currently, Nana Akufo-Addo, has been very vocal and emphatic about the fact that he wants to see an Africa beyond aid, where African countries can come together and solve their own problems, devoid of financial or foreign aid from Western countries. Now, some people have said Africa is not ready to wean off foreign aids, or Africa is not ready to really forgo some of the assistance it receives from some of these so-called developed countries. But President Akufo-Addo feels like it's a possibility. What do you think is inspiring this sentiment, and what are some of the ways that he can make this Ghana beyond aid to eventually become a reality and affect Africa as a continent?
President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is re-echoing the wish of every true and patriotic African citizen. Every true, sincere African would want to see Africa own Africa. Is there any continent richer than that continent called Africa? Is it water bodies? Is it land? Fertile, productive land? Is it forest? Is it minerals? What have you do we not have in the continent of Africa? Is it copper? Is it gold? Is it uranium? Is it diamonds? Why should we go to beg for food
when grass is greener at our feet?
President Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is indeed re-echoing what is obvious. We go to take loans, and the interest repayment and the conditionalities that undergird the loans take everything back. Those who come to Africa and exploit our resources, what are the percentages that we gain from the exploitation of any of our resources? 3% of our diamonds? 3% of our copper? 3% of our gold? No. We deserve better. And who will give that to us? We must take it ourselves. And that is exactly what the president of Ghana is talking about. That we have to take our destiny into our own hands and trust, like our culture teaches us, that a man is respected only if he is able to pull himself up by his own bootstraps. That is exactly what the president of Ghana is re-echoing. And all of us as Africans, not only Ghanaians, have a responsibility, especially those of us who have been to school, those of us who pride ourselves of being professionals. This is the time the president of Ghana has thrown the challenge to all of us that we need to pool our resources, intellectual, financial, technical resources that we have to pool them and take the rightful position in harnessing the resources that are available to us. And the whole of the world will come looking for us. Why is it that Europe came to Africa? Why are they still interested in Africa? Why is it that China is so much interested in Africa. There is something in Africa, something productive in Africa. That is what the president of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is talking about. And I think that these are the principles of Pan-Africanism. These are the issues that Pan-Africanists want to espouse, that let us take full control of our resources, harness them. Whoever comes to join us and will want to harvest with us, let that person partner with us on a fair basis so that we can gain our part of the resource. Because whatever it is, whatever we are putting in is our equity. And our equity must yield the necessary benefit.
Right.
When this is done, Africa is not going to beg anybody.
Thank you for joining us here on the African Dream, Mr. Asare-Asiedu. And folks, you've been watching me have a conversation with Mr. Asare-Asiedu. He's Ghana's ambassador to Liberia. He's served the nation of Ghana diplomatically in the United States for some 2 years, and he's been in the country's foreign affairs for close to some 3 decades. We wish you all the best as you go out to represent Ghana as Ghana's ambassador to Liberia, and we pray that we get an opportunity to interact with you again sometime soon. All the best out there, and thank you for inviting us here to your home.
Thank you very much, Ora.
Yeah.
I am so pleased to have had the opportunity of talking to African Dream. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir.
Happy New Year once again.